everybody, Mike here. I just want to take a second to talk to you about our Patreon we have set up at www.patreon.com/weirdshitpodcast. Basically, Patreon is a way where fans and listeners like yourselves can choose an amount every month to donate towards the show. Your donations will be put towards buying new equipment. It'll be put towards buying munchies because fucking Palmer is insatiable. It'll be put towards helping us pay our dues for hosting the show and for keeping the websites going. And honestly, the main thing it'll help us do is let me take more time to do more research on these topics. I have a full-time job. I work 60 hours a week, and then I spend 40 hours doing research for you guys because I love this show and I want to give you the best thing I possibly can. So if you have anything you want to give us, if you think we deserve anything for that work, feel free to go to Patreon and donate whatever you can. If not, man, it's cool. Like, I love every single one of you, and I'm so glad you're listening. Just share the show with whoever you think would be interested, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks.
Hey everybody, this is Steven.
And this is Chris.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Is This Adulting?
Every week, we're going to sit down to have a discussion about life, culture, our own mental health struggles, and just about anything you can think of.
Have you ever wondered which breakfast cereal's the best?
Or how to help your friends who are dealing with mental illness?
Or why waterbeds were a thing?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, then have we got a show for you.
And remember, kids, be happy, stay healthy, and go hug someone.
Because you never know, they might just be starting a podcast.
Hey guys, it's Lainey, host of the True Crime Fan Club podcast. If you're a true crime addict like I am, then my podcast is for you. It's a podcast for the ultimate true crime enthusiast, giving you a glimpse into the life and crimes of the most demented minds. You won't want to miss an episode.
Hello, John Klein.
Who is this?
My name is Indrid Cold.
Unless, of course, you're Gordon Smallwood.
Your father was born in Racine, Wisconsin. You lived in a green house on Monroe Street. You don't remember how your mother looked.
Okay, you got my attention. Where's my watch?
In your shoe. Under the bed. Very good, John. Thank you.
What's my head?
Chapstick.
You're reading my mind, are you? You're reading my mind.
I have no need to, do I?
What's the third line? Page 51.
A broken smile beneath her whispered veils. Still more proof, John Klein?
What do you look like?
It depends on who's looking.
I want to meet you.
You already have, John. I've seen you afraid. You're frightened right now, aren't you?
Can I ask you something?
Why ask me what you already know, John?
What happened to my wife?
You were there. Mary Cullen cannot be found by looking. You will see her in time.
So, I was talking to Dan earlier, and he actually, showed me something that I'd never seen before. Apparently, there's, a bank and a number listed on the back of your birth certificate.
What's that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, why the hell is that a thing? But I was thinking about it, and, maybe it's for, genetic coding or something. They classify you somehow when they store your DNA when you're born.
This one's Jewish, this one's not Jewish.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, we have the seed bank, right, for if the world ever ends. What if they're doing that with people so that there won't be a lot of inbreeding and stuff if they try to restart the human race?
Makes sense.
That was my theory on it anyway. Welcome to Weird Shit Podcast. We're a little short-handed today, but this is Mike.
This is Ryan.
And this is Robert.
And today we're going to be talking about Indrid Cold. So Ryan, what do you know about Indrid Cold?
I got nada.
Nothing?
Nothing.
What do you know about Indrid Cold, Robert?
Pretty much just the stuff you've told me. Otherwise, I have no idea.
So, Indrid
So
Cold...
there's this thing, it's Indrid Cold. I'm like, okay, that's a thing.
Is it Indrid?
Indrid.
Indrid?
Ingrid?
It's INDRID, which I was looking into it, and one of the coolest theories I saw is that it's actually from derived from Latin, the Latin Jesus of Nazareth, or Jesus King of the Jews, because it's pronounced, and I'm very terrible at Latin, but I'm thinking it's pronounced Iesus Nuzarinus Rex Ludiarum.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But yeah, I think that's an interesting idea for where his name would have come from. I think that's what I said. Deo. So
Ingrid and Nicole.
my name is shit.
Ing.
Oh, I'm filled with dread right now. You're so scary. Dread. Indrid. Man, it's cold. Cold! Indrid Cold.
Oh, damn it.
So, basically, the story of Indrid Cold starts as a salesman, a sewing machine salesman, named Woodrow Derenberger is driving down I-77.
Yeah, it is.
He's driving down Highway I-77 near Parkersburg, West Virginia. And basically, he's driving. It's raining a bit or whatever. He's been selling sewing machines all day. Obviously, his job sucks, so he doesn't want to do that. So, he, glances in his mirror, and he sees, a car coming up behind him, super fast on the highway. And he's like, holy shit, that guy's flying. It's fucking, it's, raining out here. That guy's gonna hurt somebody. Little did he know, that fucker was flying. Because it's actually a car and then a fucking UFO chasing that car, and then the UFO sees him basically and starts lowering itself and matching his speed to make him force him to slow down, to stop, and then it stops and hovers above the road, which is
That's pretty nuts.
pretty fucking crazy. I don't know about you guys, but a UFO tries to get me to stop. I don't know if I would actually stop for that UFO.
No. Because you might get away, but if you stop...
if you stop, you might get raped.
So is he just hanging his head out the window of the UFO, just pull over!
Yeah,
It's just Roger. Pull over!
Pull over! I need to talk to you. And he said that the vehicle looked like a kerosene lamp chimney, and that it was flying 6 inches off the ground. The vehicle came around him, turned sideways across both lanes of the road in front of him, and made him slow down to a stop on the side of the road. And then after that, a door opened, and he said it sounded like a car door, like the same like click and like open thing that a car door does. And a grinning man stepped out of the vehicle. The door shut with a thunk behind him, same as like a car door thunk would be, which is pretty crazy because it's like there's a lot of reports with like UFO sightings and stuff of like high strangeness. So it'll be a thing where like when the UFO actually comes close enough for you to have a close encounter, it looks like a cartoon ambulance or something like that. Or like when you try to describe it, it's like surreal almost, like the way it looks, which is pretty cool. One of my personal theories is that maybe it's just like how they think your brain will be able to process it. So they're like, what will scare him the least? Like the Ghostbusters choose the form of the Destructor thing.
Right.
Like, I think that's probably how it's working. So they're like, this time we're going to come down as like a giant fluffy kitten. So you're like, oh, it's a kitty. That is a big kitty. So then you cooperate completely. After that...
Yeah, if it just came down as like a box of kittens, I would be down. I'd be like, alright, aliens, I'll do whatever you want.
The aliens,
pet these kittens.
The aliens are just a bunch of kittens stacked on top of each other in like silver jumpsuits. They're like, show us where your yarn is produced.
Meow, motherfucker.
They're just like chasing their own lasers all over the place. So after this dude comes walking out, big old grin on his face, door sounds like a car door. A few seconds later, after this guy clears like the ramp or whatever, climbing out, the vehicle climbed to 40 feet in the air above the highway. And Derenberger said that the man was wearing like a dark suit, and that he walked to the right side of his truck, and he said the man asked him to roll his window down. Like when he was being interviewed about this, like Derenberger, he told me to roll my window down, and the reporter's like, how did you hear him if your window was up, like, and it's raining? How would you have heard him? And he's like, well, I like felt it in my brain, like the guy was talking to him telepathically, which of course freaks out Derenberger. Derenberger's like, holy shit, like this thing's like speaking directly into my fucking brain. And Indrid Cold is like, we can communicate either telepathically or with words. It's up to you. Is like, whatever you're comfortable with, man. I'm trying to help you out, is basically how he like does it. So he keeps speaking to Derenberger telepathically, like the whole time. He has this pleasant smile on his face, like whole time, lips not moving, just like thoughts beamed into his brain. And the grinning man like asked him, what are you called? And he's like, oh, I'm, like, he understood that was supposed to be his name or whatever. So he's like, yeah, I'm Woody Derenberger. And he's like, what are Derenberger? And then after he answers that or whatever, the man in the dark suit like leans forward and he goes, I am called Cold. And that's what he says.
Stone Cold.
Yeah. This is fucking John Cena drops out of the UFO and like suplexes the car. Just Derenberger goes flying. So I thought that was like really cool that he's like, I am called Cold. I was like, ooh, like spooky.
So, you know, like action movies, how they always have like names like Yeager and shit like that. I just want to see an action movie with a guy named, like, Woodrow Derenberger.
We basically did. That one guy's name was Zap Rousdower.
Yeah, that's true.
That's pretty close. Oh my god. I didn't even look up a picture of Derenberger, but now I'm going to be imagining Zap Rousdower for the rest of this. So Derenberger said that he could see that Cold noticed the lights coming from Parkersburg, West Virginia, off in the distance. Cold asked Derenberger, "What is that over there?" Derenberger tells him that what he was seeing was the city of Parkersburg. Cold then asked if that is where the people live. Derenberger said no. Parkersburg is more of a place of business, and most of the people live on the outskirts of town. Cold kept asking him like all sorts of weird questions and stuff the whole time, but nothing frightening. It's like what's your name? What time is it? Was a weird one that he asked him. But I think that the way these questions are phrased, it might even be like a universal translator thing. So it's like trying to get the meaning of the sentence across to you, not even necessarily use the literal words, since it's beaming it straight into his brain. After Cold seemed satisfied with what he'd learned, he looked at Derenberger and said, "It's been nice talking to you, Mr. Derenberger. We'll be seeing you again." And he turned and started to walk away from the truck. As Cold did so, the strange craft began to descend back to the highway, and the door opened. Cold climbed back inside, and the door shut behind him with the same thunk, like that car door thunk, that Derenberger had heard before, and the vehicle sped away into the cold November night. That's the first encounter with Indrid Cold.
Did Derenberger get visited by the Men in Black?
Yeah. Well, there's actually a lot of shit going on with that, right? All of this happened in November of 1966, which, to most people, they would know, if they're into all this weird shit, that is actually when the Mothman sightings first started, too. So, Indrid Cold showed up near this place in West Virginia, which the Mothman sightings were in
Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which isn't that far away from there, right? And so, people were, seeing this creature with, red eyes and, wings that was, going around through the town, scaring people, basically. You'd be, making out at, the TNT fields, and then all of a sudden, this fucking, red-eyed thing just, pop, comes out and attacks your car, and you're like, oh shit, trying to get away from it and stuff.
Did you say TNT fields?
TNT fields. So there's, there's this place called the TNT Zone in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is literally an old government testing facility for
TNT?
For explosives and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So they call it the TNT Zone.
Weird.
So, a lot of people think that the Mothman might have just been, something exposed to chemicals down there.
You said TNT field, and all I was picturing was, a cornfield, but with TNT.
Sticks of, lit sticks of dynamite, just, sizzling on, all the stalks.
Just, dangling off the stalk from the tree.
Dude, it's popcorn. Just 10 days after Derenberger's encounter with Cold, another series of bizarre events began to unfold around the region. On November 12th, 1966, near Clendenin, West Virginia, 5 men were in the local cemetery digging a grave for a burial. Like you would. Midnight, somebody just died, starting to stink up the place. You're like, let's go bury this guy in the middle of the night.
Do you not bury people in the middle of the night?
I don't want to do it during the day.
Then they'll see you. You're going to get caught if you do it during the day.
And it's just really hot outside.
Can anyone help me with this?
I can barely walk to my car in the middle of the day in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like, I would really rather not do it in West Virginia. So it's like middle of the night. These 5 dudes are burying one of them's stepdad or something like that. I don't fucking remember what they said. And
Just burying some dude.
some guy, some West Virginian dude,
Some guy named Jimmy Hoffa.
Dude, it's fucking Joe Pesci and Ray Liotta, like, just burying a guy in the middle of fucking West Virginia for no reason.
Yard trimmings.
Hey, you see that thing fly by with those glowing red eyes? That was scary as shit. Like, they saw this thing that appeared to be a bird, but more like a man with wings. It was a giant thing that, like, flew overhead while they're burying.
So they reported this to somebody?
Yeah.
Who did they tell this to? They're just like, oh, we were just burying this guy out in the woods like you do. And,
No, because there were yard trimmings.
oh, right.
They were burying him in a cemetery. It's a perfectly okay thing to do. And they just happened to be doing it late at night for some reason. And then in the evening of November 15th, 1966, 2 young married couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Mallett, had a very bizarre encounter as they drove past an area of town known as the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant near Point Pleasant. So, like, okay, that is kind of weird. Like,
None of this weird.
yeah, it just that took, like, no fucking time. Like, it's like 3 days later that they see this shit in a completely different town in West Virginia. It went from, like, Clinton.
Clearly diddly only glue.
It went from Clint, West Virginia to...
It ended up in Point Pleasant, West Virginia 3 days later. The couple saw 2 large eyes that they said glowed red in the car's headlights and were attached to something that, quote, looked like a man but bigger, maybe 6 or 7 feet tall. It had wings folded against its back. When it moved toward the plant door, they panicked and sped away. Just a short time later, they saw the same creature on a hillside near the road. It spread its 10 to 12 foot wings and flew into the air and gave chase to their car, which they said was now traveling at over 100 miles an hour.
So these TNT fields, that's just where all the teenagers go to bang?
Yeah, that's apparently the spot you go to bang in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Why are they banging next to all that dynamite?
It's dangerous.
Next to all those dangerous chemicals.
They're all just like sizzling.
They're just gonna end up like blowing up half the town.
Exactly.
Do you want
Irresponsible.
radioactive mutant children? Because this is how that happens.
Yep. That's what that creature is. Just a big ass man baby that's been mutated
It's trying to get
by
them to
chemical
kill it.
explosions.
They're following it. It's following them around, going, "Kill me, kill me,
It's like, pull over.
please." So, when they got into town, they made a report of the horrifying event to Deputy Sheriff Millard.
Did the thing just like give up? It was just like, meh.
Yeah, it doesn't really say. I guess it just went, eh.
It was
Like-
flying like 100 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
like
right?
100.
Like, holy shit.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So here's this, right? It says 100 miles an hour.
No, they were full of shit.
I think, yeah, like, I mean, we all, like, grown up in the South. I think we know that if somebody's telling you, man, I was driving like 100 miles an hour, I think, like, every one of us assumes, yeah, he was going over the speed limit.
Yeah.
That's, like, it. Like, I have
It's
no...
26 kph.
Yeah. I have, like, no idea, like, no thought in my head that he was actually going 100 miles an hour. But I could see him thinking he was. And so...
That's what the creature says. Just to make himself look faster.
Yeah.
They said
I
that...
totally had him, and so they were like 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, they were like 200, and I just couldn't keep up anymore.
Dracula's just like, relax, man. We all get it.
I totally almost caught him, though. We know.
I was like,
Loch Ness Monster's just making a jerk-off motion with his hand.
So, like, when they got into town, they made a report of the horrifying event to the Deputy Sheriff Millard Halstead. And they said that whatever it was had followed them down Highway 62 all the way to the Point Pleasant city limits.
it was just like shooting its shoulder-mounted rockets the whole time. We were all like, whoa!
We were like, man, those explosions look expensive.
Like the entire TNT field just explodes in the distance.
They're
It's
in
gonna be
like
this, like fucking Michael Bay like firework explosion.
their car like turns into a giant robot and starts fighting the Mothman in like midair.
We may have just been watching Transformers. It's not influencing this case study at all.
At all. Maybe the fucking Mothman is called the Mothman because he actually transforms into a moth. Like out of like Beast Wars or something. He's
Hell
just
yeah.
like
Oh shit, it's the
No,
Mothman!
he's like stuck halfway between like person and moth transformation, so it's just Mothman.
Yeah, I used to do that with
He's
my
just
Transformers all the time.
Yeah.
I'd like transform them to like a halfway point and then just leave them.
It's like half moth, but then he's got like the legs sticking out.
I'm like, this is a fire truck with arms. Like, I call him Punchy, the fire truck.
Squirty.
Squirty, the fire truck. No, stop it, Squirty. Stop it. At about 10:30 on that same evening, Newell Partridge, a building contractor who lived in Salem, which is about 90 miles from Point Pleasant, was watching television when the screen went dark. He reported that an eerie pattern filled the screen, and that's when he heard a loud whining sound from outside that raised up in pitch and then stopped. Nope, you went back down. It's up and then stop. That sounds right.
Yep. Just like insert that into Wikipedia as a sound file that you can play.
Sound of the Mothman.
Actual recorded footage of the Mothman.
Sometimes I really wish this was a video podcast because the face that Robert made was so amazing when he made that sound. So, raised in pitch and then stopped. Partridge said, quote, "It sounded like a generator winding up," which yours was really close to. Partridge's dog, Bandit, began to howl on the front porch, and so he grabbed a flashlight to go see what was going on.
What if it was just like the Reaper sound? Like,
Oh my god. I would, no joke, I would piss myself. I would not be proud of it. I would feel like less of a man, but I would piss myself if I ever heard that sound.
His dog was named Bandit.
Yeah.
He's got Johnny Quest.
Yes.
Did the Mothman kill Johnny Quest?
This guy is the lost alcoholic member of the Partridge family. Neil Partridge. That's who he is. He just took Johnny Quest's dog.
I mean, I'm pretty sure most of the members of the Partridge family are alcoholics.
Allegedly. Allegedly. They're allegedly alcoholics.
Objectively.
Objectively. When he got outside, he saw Bandit was looking at the barn, which was about 150 yards from the house.
Hey, Bandit.
And so he like shines his flashlight, and he says he spotted he got a bitch.
Got a bitch?
So he shines his flashlight in that direction and spotted two red circles that looked like, quote, bicycle reflectors, which were probably just his two bikes that he had hanging out
Yeah,
next,
exactly.
next to the thing. Just they got squeaky tires.
Just a motorcycle going by in the distance?
It was the very first, like, pocket rocket.
Yeah. Just, So he sees these two red orbs, look like bicycle reflectors. The red orbs were not like any animal's eyes he had ever seen, and the sight of them frightened him to the core.
That's because they were bicycle reflectors.
he got snuck up on by two wild bicycles.
That's weird. Those bicycle reflectors don't look anything like any animal's eyes I've ever seen.
You gotta be crazy wandering these fields at night. The things that follow you out there. The horns. The squeaky tires.
You see like two bicycles shadowing someone. You turn around and all you hear is like the bicycle cha-ching.
Dude, it's like the scene from The Lost World where they're running through the field and there's the raptors coming up on them. Sometimes it's just the fucking bikes.
And they're like,
it's just running people over.
It's just Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, they get to the middle and Lance Armstrong is like standing on an altar, like his arms outstretched, like lightning shooting from his fingers.
we're gods!
You have brought this upon yourselves!
I mean, it's all those steroids. That's what did it.
That's just a scientific fact. That's what steroids do to people.
Yeah, they just turn you into a god after a while.
Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You become Broden.
So Bandit was a hunting dog and protective of his territory and took off across the yard and started chasing the like red-eyed thing. Partridge was like, stop! But Bandit was already like fucking gone. He turned and went back into the house to get his shotgun, but he says when he got in and got his shotgun, something told him, don't go back outside. Like, something, like, primal in him was like, you better not fucking go back out there because you will die.
What about poor Bandit?
Well, unfortunately, poor Bandit was never seen again.
No, I'm sad.
I know. Bandit! He doesn't deserve that.
And then it just became John Wick.
How about the noise of the ship? What kind of noise did this make?
Yeah, the noise that the ship made was very low, and it was a fluttering noise. I'll try to make it for you. I don't know whether I can or not, but it was no louder than that. It sounded almost like that.
Did you say it passed you on the road, or did it jump over you and stop in front?
When this car overtaken me from the rear, he blinked his lights, like he's going to pass. While I was already in the right-hand lane, I kept coming at the same rate of speed. And the first that I knew this object was coming up just like another car passing me. And at first, I thought it was another car. But when it came up and I just automatically glanced to it, I seen that it wasn't no car. And then I didn't think very much of anything. It pulled right around in front of me, and it turned crosswise. And it kept moving crosswise up the road ahead of me. It stayed in front of me. I don't think it would have let me hit it. I had the impression that if I did keep on going, that it would keep going too. But it slowed down and kept getting closer and closer till I stopped. And as soon as I stopped, the door opened immediately, and this man got out.
What about windows in this vehicle? Did you notice anything that through which people might look from inside?
I seen no windows of any kind, Sergeant.
No windows, no lights?
No, none at all. Now, the front end and the back end, I couldn't see too well, but I think that they were open.
Now, by open, what...
It didn't look like it run out to a blunt end and stopped. It looked just like you'd be looking right down into, as I said, that lamp globe. It looked like they were open down in as far as I could see it.
Did that noise remind you of the sound of a jet?
Not one bit.
These people that passed you on the road while you were talking to them, did they not appear curious?
Would you repeat that, please?
These people that passed you on the road while you were speaking to this man, did they not appear curious? Did they just go on as if nothing had happened? I mean, was this, it had to be a large object.
The large object was up in the air, and they could have seen it if they would have looked, but I doubt very much if anybody would look up.
Now, this man standing beside your vehicle talking to you, looking like any other man from what we know as our planet, wouldn't give any strange appearance to cause people to stop. Is that correct?
No, sir, it wouldn't have me. If I'd have passed and seen the man, I would have thought it was an ordinary man.
In other words, that would approximately be about 30 to 35 feet in length, the overall length.
Yes, I would say close to that.
Now, from the flat portion to the top of this thing, whatever it might be, for want of a better expression, we'll call it a thing, what would you say the distance from this flat bottom of this thing was to the top?
Between 8 and 9 feet.
Between 8 and 9 feet.
That's some height.
Yes.
Really wasn't a large object. It wasn't too large of an object then.
No, it didn't. It didn't leave you with the impression of something being very large.
It couldn't incorporate very many people within it. I mean, not probably more.
Well, there could have been quite a few people in it, because as
How wide would it have been through on this flat side? Could you describe that?
I would say about the same as it was in height, almost 8 feet.
It is a long, slender object. Long, slender.
No, it wasn't slender. It started out small at the front end of it, and just like a globe, it started out and got bigger, and then it come down in real small, and then enlarged out again, but not as much as it did at the front end.
Something like a cigar, some of these fat...
No, it didn't resemble a cigar.
If I would give you a piece of paper and a pencil, could you very hurriedly maybe sketch what you might think it looks like?
I will try.
While you're doing that, Mr. Sternberger, the height of the man, was he about the same normal height as human beings are, like 5'6"?
I'd say he was right around 6 feet tall. He walked normally.
He was not fat, he was not slim, he was...
Just a medium-sized man. He looked to weigh around 185.
Since his communications with you were more of a telepathy, did you, at any time while you were coming down Interstate 77, sense anything unusual in your own mind?
No, I didn't.
Had you been thinking or reading about unidentified flying objects in the past week?
No, I hadn't, and to tell you perfectly honest truth, I never did believe in them.
Had you seen the recent article in the Life magazine regarding these things? Or Look magazine, perfect.
Had you heard, do you have a radio in your truck? Car radio?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard any, when this article came out in Look, when this article came out in Look magazine, it was Look, was it not, Sergeant?
I think it was.
I know on radio, both CBS and ABC, they had numerous promotions on the air about this article, and they did make some comment as to descriptions of what these people saw. There is a comparison. Now, would you describe this now for us?
This is just a roughly of what I think it looked like. It was small here at this end, but yet larger than at this end. It come back straight like this, and kind of dipped down and then went up, and come back down again and raised up again. On the bottom, it started out the same way, but it flattened out on the bottom. The bottom was flat because it was within 6 or 8 inches of the hard road, but it did not touch the road. I looked in under it.
You didn't notice any wheels or anything on
No,
it?
sir, I didn't.
Plain flat surface.
It just looked like a flat.
You have air compressed cars now.
This opening that is here.
Yes.
Was this did this appear to be an opening or just a flat surface here too?
I had the impression that it was open.
Could you pinpoint exactly where you pulled over?
The closest that I can tell you where it's pulled over was when he left and I left. I had just got my truck into high gear, and I was wasting no time. I seen exit to Highway 47.
Then this would be before you get to the sign where it says exit 47 going south.
Just before that.
Mothman. So on November 16th, a press conference was held at the county courthouse, and the couples from the TNT plant sighting retold their story. Deputy Halstead, who'd known the couples all of their lives, took them very seriously. He said, quote, "They've never been in any trouble," and he had no reason to doubt their stories. Wildlife biologist Dr. Robert L. Smith of West Virginia University told reporters that descriptions and sightings all fit the description of the sandhill crane, a large American crane as high as a man with a 7-foot wingspan and circles of reddish coloring around its eyes. What a fucking idiot. He sounds like a biologist from West Virginia.
Was this Robert Smith from The Cure?
The same.
What you saw was a sandhill crane. It wasn't a heron. It was a crane. As high as a man with a 7-foot wingspan and circles of reddish coloring around the eyes, and that the crane may have been blown out of its migration route by a severe storm.
By a cannon.
Question. How high was the man?
It had to have been pretty high to think that it was a fucking crane that these people were seeing. Like,
I mean, how high was the man and how high was the crane?
This high.
Too high. The press dubbed the creature Mothman after a character from the popular Batman television series, which, as fucking Robert would also know, is not Mothman, it's Killer Moth. There is no Mothman in Batman. It's Killer Moth. But they were like Mothman, like after the Batman character, so they like named him after the wrong name of a character. And basically the TNT site became the haunt of the Mothman in the months ahead.
Everyone knows it's actually pronounced Mothman.
Stephen
Eugene Stephen Archibald Humperdinck Mothman.
Not Mothman.
Eugene Stephen Archibald Humperdinck Mothman turned the TNT plant. I can't believe I remembered that. Turned the TNT plant.
Why? What happened?
Into his haunt for the next several months. There's basically like hundreds of acres of woods. 100-acre woods. God, there's gotta be a Winnie the Pooh joke in that.
Oh, it's Mothman!
Look how Piglet! Oh God, it's tearing Rue apart!
Mothman's a dick!
So,
where my money?
Basically, there's a whole bunch of woods and like concrete domes and shit. And like a web of tunnels under the area, and that's like a good place for him to have been like hiding, because it would have been hard to catch him there.
Slippery old bastard.
Also, that on November 16th, the Thomas family spotted a red light in the sky that moved and hovered above the TNT plant. Mrs. Marcella Bennett, a friend of the Thomas family, reported later and got out of the car. We couldn't figure out what it was. Miss Bennett drove to the Thomas house a few minutes later and got out of the car with her baby girl. When she got out of the car, she saw something move, like by the automobile. It seemed as though it had been lying down, she said later. It rose up from the ground, a big gray thing, bigger than a man with terrible glowing eyes. Which is fucking spooky. Like, if you get out of your car and suddenly this thing goes like into existence in front of you, you're like,
nope.
I would get back in my fucking car immediately. I would not be fucking talking to this thing. So, it rises up, and she says she was so horrified that she dropped her baby.
Oh, wow.
So, like, that's honestly pretty good evidence that she's probably not full of shit, because I would never admit to dropping a baby.
Unless she accidentally just dropped it, She had to come up with this whole story.
for why the baby's head was now like...
I don't think she dropped it.
Why
think she threw it at the Mothman. She was like, take it! Just don't take me!
Eat the baby, don't eat me! She had to explain...
I don't like this baby.
She had to explain why, like, now the kid's head looked like a moon pie. It's because she dropped it. They're like, what the fuck? So, she quickly recovered and picked up her child and ran into the house. The family locked the doors, and hysteria gripped them as the creature moved onto the porch and peered into the windows. They called the police, but the Mothman had vanished by the time the authorities had arrived. So this thing, like, manifests in front of you as soon as you get out of the fucking car, and then it starts like, hey, y'all cooking in there? Like, sticking its head up to all your windows. Y'all got a baby in there? I saw a baby.
I saw you drop that baby.
Let me get shorts on that baby.
Y'all got any big ass mosquitoes?
Hey, yo, can I eat that baby? Give me that baby real quick.
Let me get shorts on that baby.
Call shorts on that baby. Sir, I speak.
Sir, I speak.
I need another baby. So, there were also like a bunch of UFO sightings and encounters with the Men in Black all over during like this whole time period.
Oh snap! Got them MIBs.
You got the MIBs. What? What are MIBs?
Excuse me. Are you a UFO?
Do you know UFO? What? What are you talking about? Songs missing. So basically, people all over town kept seeing this same creature that would like. They all kind of described the same thing. It's this hulking mass, bigger than a
swole.
Yeah, bigger than a person. Yeah, swole as fuck. No neck. Its eyes are basically like here, like right on its like chest. Like it looks like it's just a mass with like eyes, arms, legs, and the wings.
It's just two biceps and wings.
The biceps are just glowing bright red, and they're like super hypnotic because it would like call to people.
It's just doing the like Terry Crews like.
I'm just picturing like an owl, but with like biceps and like arms.
Well, see, we'll get
it's like a
swole as fuck owl.
Yeah, just a bird with arms.
We can get into the owl stuff because that's actually a legit thing here, right? Mm-hmm. We can get more into owl stuff next week in like part 2.
I'm always down for owl stuff,
but this shit is pretty. this shit is pretty nuts. We'll go over like. We'll go more into the Indrid Cold stuff, and then also do like theories. We can go over our theories on the Mothman. Yeah. So basically, all this kept happening for like a month, and then on December 15th, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed during rush hour traffic because there was like a malfunctioning light that kept telling cars to keep moving onto the bridge. And also, because of the failure of a single eye bar in a suspension chain, because it had a small defect of 0.1 inches deep. Damn. So, literally, 0.1 inches is what killed all these fucking people. They died because of 0.1 inches of shitty government craftsmanship. And
that sucks.
It dumped a whole bunch of people into the river. It resulted in the deaths of 46 people, 2 of which were never found. And yeah, the eye bar is what was responsible. But a lot of people thought that the Mothman might have been some sort of omen for like that event. And if you watch the movie The Mothman Prophecies, that's like pretty much what it asserts. It's like, yeah, it was like all leading up to like this bridge collapse, but like there's like a lot more for us to go into also. having to do with the...
So is Richard Gere's character in that movie an actual person?
Yeah, his character is John Keel, is the author. I don't remember what they named him in the movie, but he's the guy who wrote the book, The Mothman Prophecies.
Gotcha.
Which is his accounts of his personal investigation into all the stuff that happened in Point Pleasant, which is what I wanted to get into.
Gotcha.
In the next one.
Part 2.
Yeah, in part 2. So, what do you guys think so far?
Yeah. Shit crazy.
It's a lot of shit in one little town.
Yeah. How many different, sightings was it?
It's like dozens.
Yeah.
Like, lots of people seeing it.
People who don't know each other or anything.
Yeah, they don't know each other, right? And, they have the same description. They're like, hulking shadow, big-ass red, nipple eyes, hypnotic.
Rodin the owl.
High-pitched screech. That kind of stuff. So, that's kind of crazy to me that that all the witnesses would have such a similar description. If it was some sort of hoax, I don't know how they would have had that same description.
Something to it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they must have been seeing something real, right?
Yeah.
But
real.
That's real.
The full interview with the Woody Derenberger, about his encounters because he had multiple encounters with Indrid Cold, is actually super interesting, and we can probably link that on the webpage for people to find. I made the YouTube playlist like I always do, where I put relevant things on there. So, but what do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I think there's probably something to this one. The only thing that bothers me is I don't know. I wouldn't trust the kids making out in the TNT fields. I wouldn't trust their descriptions or anything.
I think they all just fucked up.
Yeah.
And they all came up somehow with the same story.
But here's my thing, right?
To explain their fuck up.
What I didn't go into, but I'm glad you guys are feeding me this stuff, because now I get to dig into this shit, right? Mm-hmm. So those two couples, they were married, they were two separate married couples that were there together.
Okay.
I guess to make out, or maybe there was a wife swapping thing going on. I don't know.
There was definitely some swinging going on.
Yeah, so in all these scenarios, either something shady or something just stupid.
The guy's burying the body.
Yeah.
These people are swingers.
Yeah.
And we know
the woman accidentally dropped her baby.
I mean, you know, in the South, if you don't say in the South, if you don't say "God bless you" when somebody sneezes, you're a pariah.
Yeah.
They're already threatening to burn you. So imagine what they would think if you were just burying a dead guy you happen to find, or we're in a car with another married couple.
Are there any legitimate theories that guy that being buried was Jimmy Hoffa? Because I feel like that was Jimmy Hoffa.
You might be right.
It was somebody missing.
Okay, so theory for Mothman.
Yeah.
What if the Mothman was just a mafioso that they dressed in a stupid costume to distract people while they figured out where to hide Jimmy Hoffa?
There you go.
There we go. Don't even need part 2.
No, don't even need part 2 now. We can just solve it right here. But they're just trying to bury him in the graveyard. Then the guy in the Mothman costume comes there. They're like, God damn it! We said away from us. Go away from us. So he goes to the TNT plant. But those two couples, they went straight to the police, which is my thing about that, right? If it was just they were trying to cover up something shady, they didn't have to tell anybody at all.
Yeah.
Nobody knew they were there until they went to the police and were like, hey, we just saw this giant fucking creature that attacked our car. So, I would
totally go to animal control before I went to the police. That's just me.
Well, this is...
there's a big-ass, owl thing or something. I don't fucking know. You guys deal with it.
It's a demon! It's a demon! Fucking, this is 60s West Virginia, though. But also, like, when the deputy conducted his interviews with them, he separated each of them first so that they couldn't contaminate each other's stories, and they all told the exact same story and described the creature in the exact same way. Even though they wouldn't be able to, like, they would have had to have been rehearsing for like a week before just showing up to make this claim. But yeah, like, what would you guys do if you saw the fucking Mothman?
I have no idea.
I'd fuck him up.
You'd fuck him up.
I mean, my first reaction would probably be hit it with my car.
Yeah, I mean, like, well,
like, that thing shouldn't be alive.
so it sounds pretty terrifying to me, right? But Indrid Cold sounds dope. I'd like to talk with an alien. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll totally chill with Indrid Cold, as long as it didn't bring Eugene P. Humperdinck Mothman. The Mothman is like, Indrid Cold is trying to warm him up to, like, lead Mothman into the conversation. He's like, so you know who you guys would really like? You'd really like my friend. He's a super nice guy. Real bright personality. He's like, oh god, this guy's gonna be terrible, isn't he?
Got eyes you can't believe. And then he comes walking out of the bushes, all moth looking.
He's just like going, a weeb.
It's like trips and falls and like just immediately hurts someone's kid.
Yeah. Like,
fucking
poor Mothman.
Like, Mothman is probably just like Indrid Cold's like fucking like weeb neckbeard friend that he's just been trying to get rid of.
He's just like Mr. fucking Magoo, and like his being so clumsy just keeps getting like large groups of people killed. Like, he just trips and falls and causes the chain of events that leads to the bridge collapse.
Yeah. He, like,
I mean, all he'd have to do is flap his wings. Huh? No? Butterfly, moth, same thing.
Oh, I got you. I see what you're doing.
Butterfly P. Nazareth Mothman.
Nazareth. Ain't no messing with the son of a... yeah. The son of a Mothman.
That's the song that's playing whenever you like see him like flying by.
That's how you know the Mothman's coming.
That's just like
it just comes in on the radio. Like,
that's his wrestling name.
Son of a Moth.
It's like it's his intro music.
Exactly. This is like WWE intro music.
Oh my god.
It's just playing like footage of like Mothman like tackling people from the ropes.
From a 9 foot tall drop from a steel cage.
Your time is up. My time is up.
Mothman.
Mothman. It's like flashes going off. He does the like fucking Triple H like suck it motion, and then like backflips and like just
got like
fucking breaks that guy's dog in half.
He's just got like ring girls with like moth wings on, just bikinis and moth wings.
Oh no, the incredible! It's like it was the Monarch from Venture Brothers this whole time.
I'm not gonna lie, the whole time we've been doing this, I've been picturing the Monarch, like a dude just in the Monarch costume, just like popping up.
If you think I'm scary, wait until you face the Minotaur. That'd be fucking incredible. Just like, yeah, I don't know. The Mothman's pretty fucking cool to me though. Like it's definitely one of the ones I've been most excited about us doing, because like I think the Mothman is one of the coolest looking cryptids, even though like his description is so vague. Like just that idea is like so spooky and like cool to me.
It's been a while since I've seen Mothman Prophecies, but is there a chase sequence in that movie where they're going over 100 miles per hour?
I hope so.
I actually don't remember. We'll have to watch that.
Because when they inevitably remake it, I hope freaking Michael Bay is on that shit.
Yeah.
It's just doing...
It's just like shooting fucking rockets.
It's like Shia LaBeouf, like driving a car.
Like a shitty beard on. Like, just like flips it and like
slaps the Mothman in the face with one of the tires. It's like, ah! He's doing car kung fu.
And the car just transforms into a robot and fights the Mothman.
Exactly. Because it's going to be like Transformers Mothman prophecies.
Michael Bay, we are publicly asking you to write to us because we have already written this script.
It just keeps drastically changing the mythology every time he does another Transformers.
Yeah, what's the Mothman gonna do?
Yeah.
Make it better?
Exactly.
I'm still totally down with your idea, though, the Fast and Furious crossover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fast and Transformius.
Ryan single-handedly managed to invent the world's greatest movie franchise the other day while we were watching Transformers. He suggested that they combine and become a beautiful thing called
Mecha. What? I don't remember.
Fast and Transformius, which would be incredible. I would watch that. I would pay.
The script is in the works.
We have options for 15 sequels.
It's going to be on Kickstarter.
We're gonna have. One of them's gonna have Thundercloud because it's got to, and that'll be fucking dope.
What?
So yeah, I am way too baked.
Yeah. Apologies.
So I think we should probably get wrapping the first half up, and we can get more into this shit next week. I want to thank you guys for listening. You're all super fucking dope. Thank you for sharing the show. But you guys can always email us. You can write to us.
That's farewell, my friends, in Mothmanese.
Or you can call our phone number that is going to be on the message after the episode. And we want to give a very special shout out this week to one of our listeners.
Hey!
Hey, you!
I'm shouting!
Listen up. Ali Goodman and Lupe Rodriguez batting 1,000 with his cat-based proposal this week. Ali and Lupe are both moderators of the Last Podcast on the Left Facebook group. Through hard work, infinite patience, and perseverance, they've taken a loose band of misfits and weirdos and turned them into a family. You two were there for me in the hardest time of my life, and you made me feel welcome. You've both been through hell together, and all of our hearts were aching for you. But past is the past, and the two of you are among the strongest human beings I've ever met. You have that kind of real-life, soulmate, Nicholas Sparks kind of love that would sicken a normal man, but that we all aspire to have. And we are all very happy for you, and happy that you found the weird piece that was missing from your souls. So from the bottom of my heart, hail yourselves, hail love, and may you both have all the happiness in this world. Congratulations.
What?
What?
I don't know y'all, but yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's us for this. That's it for this week. If you guys want to give us a shout out, you can do that on Twitter. You can email us.
Can we give ourselves shout outs?
So, okay. So here's this, right? I was thinking what would be pretty cool is if every week from now on, we each pick a thing to shout out to. Like, whether it's a person or...
Biscuits.
Yeah, biscuits. Shout out to biscuits and motherfucking gravy.
I just want to thank my moms and the Lord, because
the Lord Most High,
the Lord Most High, for which all things are possible.
You can literally fly.
No, you can't. You can't do that.
Transform into an airplane.
Children between the ages of 7 and 12 climb on top of your roof.
You can literally do anything.
So this week, I want my shout out to be to the great and delicious Goodberries, which I hope to be eating here soon.
Can I change mine? Can I change mine to Goodberries?
I would also like to give my shout out to Goodberries, through which all things are possible. So, yeah, that's it for us this week. We love you guys. Thank you for listening.
was dope. You know what else would be dope? If you guys told us your paranormal stories. I know some of you have seen ghosts, some of you have seen fucking UFOs, some of you have seen Bigfoot. If you write into us, we have an email. It is weirdshitpodcast@gmail.com. We really want to read you guys' emails. If you want to just give us a shout out, you can give us a shout out. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to record a voice message, I want to start putting voice shout outs at the beginning of every episode now. So if you send us those, that would be fucking dope. We have the Google Voice number. If you'd rather call up and leave us a voicemail, you can tell us your story that way. Send us some positivity, man. Keep the positivity coming. It's the number for that is 919-346-3071. That's 919-346-3071. We also have a Facebook group, the Weird Shit Podcast official Facebook group. We're on there all the time. We're posting memes. We want to talk to you guys. Fucking tweet at us. Fucking Facebook us. Fucking email us, man, because we love to hear from you and we want to keep doing this forever.